It was inevitable. She was coming no matter what. And I'm not talking about one of my girlfriends. In case you've been living underneath a rock for the last week and you haven't heard, Charlotte Flair was coming to Smackdown. The golden child to the blue brand. Our only hope was that it was going to be a one-off. I know that's wishful thinking, but we were hoping she shows up, Vince gets his rocks off, and she goes back to only holding two brands hostage, Raw and NXT. The worst case scenario, up front, was that she would beat somebody talented like Naomi and then just take off. Doing wonders for Charlotte and nothing for Naomi. Oh, they had something totally different planned for Naomi later in the night. We're gonna get to that, trust me. But what we thought was the worst case scenario wasn't even close, because it didn't even dawn on me that somehow the old man would insert Charlotte Flair into what could be the hottest women's feud of the summer. Bayley and Sasha Banks. It didn't even dawn on me that knowing the old man, he would somehow find a way to put Charlotte Flair into that son of a bitch. But we didn't think that was possible, right? There's no way. Time after time, Charlotte Flair is inserted into everything. There was no way Charlotte would be anywhere near Sasha and Bayley last night, right? I mean, Charlotte Flair has been playing the heel. In fact, the promo that she cut last night, if that wasn't a heel promo, you tell me what was, or what is in this business. Charlotte Flair went out there talking about how she's a blonde and she's a Flair. And when she's out, the numbers are through the roof, so you're damn right she's going to be on all three brands. That's a heel promo. We know for a fact that Bayley and Sasha are heels. There's nothing underneath the sun, nothing that makes any sense in the realm of the world would have Charlotte out there with Sasha and Bayley. It would come from nothing. It would be as unorganic as fuck. And that's also something that Vince McMahon would do, because it is not natural. It makes zero sense. And alls it does is pump up Charlotte Flair. You put all those three things into one fucking recipe and you have ingredients for disaster. And we saw it again last night on Friday Night Smackdown for May 15th, 2020. I kid you not. We saw it again! As sure as the sun rises in the morning and the moon hovers at night, rest assured Charlotte Flair will be thrusted into anything and everything that has any meaning in the WWE. For months now, you have heard BC Amplified on this very channel criticize and ridicule not just the overexposure of the Golden Child of Vincent Kennedy, but the very notion that anybody in that company honestly believes that this type of one-sided booking is helping anybody other than Charlotte Flair. The notion that this one-sided booking is helping any other female wrestler on that roster not named Charlotte Flair for months now. I wouldn't blame you if you thought I was just going into the Amplified archives and dishing out the same rant every other video, because at this point, I sound like a broken record. And this week, I finally had enough. So I've doubled down on the amplification, because at this point, we, all of us, have nothing to lose. No matter what we do or say, the stubborn bastard in Stanford has already made up his mind. And from here on out, it's Monday Night Charlotte, or NXT Wednesday Charlotte, Friday Night Charlotte. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Kennedy McMahon is planning an entire pay-per-view around his Golden Child. A Night of Flair, or the Queen of the Ring, or maybe Evolution 2, the evolution of Charlotte Flair. I wouldn't put it past the old man anymore that there's a whole pay-per-view in the works just for Charlotte Flair. My point, you ask? Well, last night, Not only did Flair make her much advertised appearance on SmackDown, but she was once again inserted into what we hope to be the hottest SmackDown women's feud of the summer, Bayley and Sasha Banks. But just like McMahon felt the need to insert Charlotte into the Becky Lynch Ronda Rousey WrestleMania match, for no reason I might add. I mean, it was Becky Lynch versus Ronda fucking Rousey. Unfinished business from Survivor Series 2018. But the old man felt it was missing something. It was missing Charlotte Flair. And then he felt the need to put the NXT title on her and subsequently take over the women's roster in NXT. All the while continuing to run through the Raw women's roster too. But hold up, that's not enough. He then felt that the blue brand was missing something. Yeah, that's it. It's missing Charlotte Flair. Time after time, circumstance after circumstance, she is thrusted into everybody's business. And with Roman and Becky now gone, there's gonna be a whole lot more where that came from. If it was helping others out and building them up, I'd be cool with it. But ask Rhea Ripley how much that loss at Mania helped her. Ask Asuka how much that loss ended her streak, helped her. Ask Asuka that. Ask Sasha, who had to give the title right back to Flair every time she won it. Ask Sasha Banks, who's held the Women's Championship 4 times on the main roster, collectively for barely over a month. Every time! Sasha got it! Vince couldn't just let her keep it for a couple months even. It had to go back to Charlotte Flair. And here we are last night, and somehow, there she is right in the middle of Sasha and Bayley's story progression. Charlotte's the fucking heel. Sasha and Bayley are the heels. This doesn't make sense. The only reason this would happen is if Vince McMahon literally cannot help himself anymore. He has to put Charlotte Flair in anything that could be awesome. Anything that could be meaningful. Anything that fans are looking forward to, he has got to ruin. And if this was just a one-off, because Vince truly thinks he's gonna elevate Sasha and Bayley, like Sasha Banks and Bayley need Charlotte Flair to help elevate them. Yeah, that's a fucking good one. That's great. That's one of the funniest jokes I've heard in a while. Sasha and Bayley need Charlotte. But if that's truly what Vince thought for 1 week, then let's do it and get it done with. But we saw last night that this just led to a matchup next week, and if you think that this is it for Charlotte Flair, Sasha, and Bayley heading into the summer, if you put it past Vince McMahon that he would not insert Charlotte Flair into a Sasha Banks and Bayley matchup at SummerSlam, then you don't know Vince McMahon. Because a lot of you guys might think this was just a harmless segment last night. When the truth is, knowing Vince McMahon, he will have Charlotte Flair in a Bayley-Sasha SummerSlam match. He doesn't give a fuck if Charlotte still has the NXT title hostage or if he has her drop the NXT title beforehand so that Charlotte can go for the SmackDown Women's Championship at SummerSlam. But everybody was getting excited for Bayley versus Sasha. Let's pump the brakes on that. There's so much time left. And just like everybody was excited for Becky Lynch and Ronda at Mania, and then just a few weeks earlier, Vince is like, wait a second. This is missing my golden child. I'm just saying there is a good chance that this could lead to Charlotte Flair being thoroughly involved in this Sasha Banks Bayley storyline. And then what, guys? Are we looking for another triple threat? So Sasha and Bayley have unfinished business, but it's Charlotte Flair for no fucking reason who's the middleman. Because Vince cannot help himself. He needs to have that spotlight shared with Charlotte at all fucking times. I'm going to touch up on this even more when we get to that segment. But believe it or not, there was more show last night. You probably wouldn't have known that, because nothing really newsworthy jumped out at us, but the Amplified Man, as I always am, or at least you guys tell me I am, I'm gonna be even more entertaining than the fucking show itself. So be it! Let's start this off right from the top. Miz TV with Otis as the special guest. Miz and Morrison completely fucked with Otis and his weight. Morrison says, "Are you pregnant?" Miz says, "John, he's a guy." Morrison says, "So, it's 2020, anything is possible. Maybe he should do what Becky Lynch did and relinquish the briefcase." Otis refuses, and Miz and Morrison are done playing around. They challenge Otis and Tucker to a tag team match later in the night, but Tucker is unavailable. So Otis is forced to find a partner for later in the night, and of course that partner ends up being Braun Strowman. So anybody that thought that Otis was not done in tag team wrestling, right? And that Tucker is going to be saved. They're still going to do more with heavy machinery. Well, we're hoping that's the case. But you're already seeing that Vince holds no stock in Tucker. Tucker's already been replaced with Braun Strowman last night. And if you think this is just going to be 1 week, please. Vince gets an idea that he thinks is over, and he's going to do it multiple times. The second that you saw Braun Strowman do the little caterpillar elbow, the old Scotty Too Hotty Warm, when you saw that happen, Vince McMahon was probably in the back, literally having an orgasm. He was loving it. He was like, "This is my new tag team." What am I doing? That's not the Vince voice. "This is my new tag team!" And then fucking 3 or 4 months, you'll see Otis try to cash in. Knowing Vince, man, I'm telling you, when he sees those big dudes become a joke and they're doing the caterpillar elbow with Otis, if you thought Braun Strowman couldn't be more of a joke, watch. Just watch. Stay tuned. So anyway, that match was the main event later in the night. Miz and Morrison versus Braun Strowman and Otis. What do you mean you're not intrigued? What do you mean that isn't keeping you and sticking you around to the end of the night? Oh, I don't blame you. King Corbin versus Elias in the first round of the Intercontinental Championship tournament. This match went 20 minutes, and there were a couple of times in this thing where Elias lost his shit, and we saw him take it to another level. We always knew it was in him. But just like the majority of the roster, Elias was never given a real shot. How many 20-minute matches can you think of for Elias on the main roster? Exactly, none. I thought Elias looked great here. Kept his pace, never blew up, timing was on point. He and Corbin complement one another as far as ring style, so chemistry was never a concern. Without a crowd, I couldn't have asked for much more between the two, especially if you are giving them 20 minutes. The finish saw Corbin smash Elias's guitar into pieces. Elias goes apeshit because that's his baby boy, that guitar. And Elias hits a knee to face to Corbin and then gets a roll-up victory on Corbin. So as far as the tournament goes and IC title chances for Corbin, goodbye. Elias moves on. I believe he's going to take on the winner of Shinsuke Nakamura. And who is it, guys? Cesaro? The teammates taking on one another. I know Shinsuke's up for grabs next week, and if he wins, and you gotta believe it's going to be Shinsuke and Elias, but who the fuck knows? If it is Cesaro and Shinsuke, then it could easily be fucking Cesaro too. Now I'm forgetting. I know Shinsuke's one of them. Either way, Elias moves on, man. And I gotta be honest with you guys. How cool would it be if Elias hoists that championship when it's all said and done? I know. Trust me, I know. We're all thinking right now it's going to be AJ Styles. I mean, that's the most obvious choice. And if you say he's not deserving, then you got a couple 2-3 screws loose up in the dome piece. Of course AJ Styles is deserving. That's not even a conversation. That's not a debate. But you could also use this tournament to take somebody that should already be something in the company and finally give them their crowning moment. Like, I don't know, Elias. We'll see what happens in this thing. We end our number one with Naomi versus Dana Brooke. Barely a 2-minute match, and Dana Brooke defeated Naomi in the most simplistic and easiest roll-ups imaginable. It was actually sad to watch. Honestly. And I don't even mind Dana Brooke. You guys know that. But this is twice in just a few weeks now. Come on, man! That's how you're doing, Naomi, and you're gonna BC me. I know you are, because I understand where this is going. They're playing the whole Dana has Naomi's number playbook. And eventually, BC, down the road, man, in a few weeks, maybe in a month or two, Naomi will get an ultimate victory. Guys, I don't need to see Dana Brooke defeat Naomi 7 times just for Naomi to get the 8th time a victory. Come on, man! Do you understand what this is doing for... Naomi's being punished for something. I don't know for what, but she's being punished for something. Roman Reigns, the Usos, Naomi, they're all in cahoots, and all of them, they're either non-existent right now on television, or they're being punished. That's what I'm seeing, right? Roman Reigns and Vince McMahon are totally on the outs. The Usos, one of them has a legit injury, we are hearing. I question a lot of this. I question a lot of what is going on. I think the Usos, even if they were on TV, not injured, I think they would be being punished right now. Something is up with Naomi where they're only giving her a 2-minute match and she's being roll-up pinned by Dana Brooke. Guys, that's not just losing. That's being embarrassed. When you have the skill and the talent like Naomi has, you are not just losing a match for storyline progression. What you are doing, my friends, is you're being embarrassed by the promoter. I've seen enough pro wrestling to understand this. And if you're trying to tell me, no, BC was only 2 minutes because they know Dana Brooke can't go more than 2 minutes and put on a good match, well then that's my point too! And to add insult to injury, they immediately cut from Naomi's reaction to the ludicrous loss, right to the graphic and announcement that the golden child of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Charlotte Flair, was up next to start hour number 2. So they couldn't even give Naomi, right? You're trying to tell me this is storyline progression. Well, guys, they couldn't even give Naomi a minute to really focus on her loss, show the frustration. They showed it for about 4 seconds, and then they cut right to Charlotte Flair's graphic. They chose Naomi's loss to be the intercut into Charlotte Flair's SmackDown arrival. That's what I mean. This is like fucking punishment, and then they add insult to injury. They add salt into the wound afterwards with the Charlotte announcement. Unfucking real to me. It shouldn't be surprising, though, because that's exactly how the old man works. Charlotte, sure enough, as advertised 1,417 times this week, appeared on SmackDown, and she made sure, right from the jump, to address all the issues that the Amplified Man has harped on this entire week. For months now, really. And she used all of the frustrations that I had, she used it all to try and get more heat on herself. She talked about Fox wanting her on all 3 brands because she's the highest draw. She said they cracked the numbers and they found out that her ratings basically are the best. Fact checked. That's actually not true. Not even close to being true. But she wants the heel heat? Okay, we'll move on. She then talked about how she's a blonde and her last name is Flair, so of course she's going to be pushed to the moon. Basically, everything that frustrates all of us about Charlotte and her booking, she used it as part of her character to gain heat. Okay, not the first time we've seen this. And to be honest, I'm glad she reiterated our frustrations, because it assures us what we already knew. That locker room, that roster, that company, they are hearing us. And even though the old man is stubborn as fuck, to the point of being dumb as fuck, the fact that these superstars have to insert our concerns and frustrations into their promos speaks volumes. Bayley and Sasha Banks come to the ring and try to put Charlotte in her place and remind her that she's in their house now. But Charlotte, instead of fighting off both Bay and Sash, she decided to try a different tactic. And if the circumstances weren't what they were, I would have actually liked this. Because Charlotte Flair tried playing Sasha against Bayley by calling Sasha Bayley's lackey. That's what she did. She tried playing Sasha against Bayley by asking Sasha if she was content being Bayley's lackey and an afterthought. Sasha looked like she had an epiphany. But before she could answer, Bayley spoke for her, and in a sense, silencing Sasha. Which just added to the validity of Charlotte's question. Again, I would have liked this because I've been saying this for over a year now when Sasha and Bayley were together as faces, known as the Boss and Hug connection. I always felt Sasha was in the shadow of, in playing the meek and second fiddle of Bayley. I always felt Bayley was calling all the shots. Then they joined together as heels, and months later, Sasha's still in the background of Bayley. So seeing this evolve into the actual storyline, this is definitely the biggest seed planted yet for a Sasha vs. Bayley title match. possibly even at SummerSlam. I'm not putting too much stock into that match until it's actually announced, though, because the old man has screwed them and us out of that match in the past. He could do it again. But again, the fact that Charlotte is the heel here, and Sasha and Bayley are supposed to be the most dominant women heels on SmackDown, when they came out last night, Charlotte put them to shame in the heel category. Nobody knew what Sasha and Bayley were last night. We sure as hell were not calling them heels. So what are they? Are they dumb as fuck and they don't know what they are, so they came out to fucking address the face? Or, I'm sorry, the heel in Charlotte? You see what I mean? If I'm confused, what do you think the fucking casual fan is right now? They booked up Lacey Evans and Tamina as the faces. Sasha and Bayley have been the heels. Since Sasha has come back and beat the hell out of Becky Lynch, she has been a heel. Why last night were they fucking playing faces? Or, I'm sorry, did Charlotte Flair start the promo off as a heel, and then when Sasha and Bayley came out, Charlotte instantly became the face, and Vince is gonna try again to make her a face out of nothing, out of nowhere. Out of thin blue crystal fucking air, he's gonna try to make Charlotte the face again. I don't understand what the plan or the agenda is here. But when things don't make sense, how the fuck am I supposed to do a review and talk about how everything's awesome and everything makes sense? Everything is awesome! Everything is cool when you're part of the crew! I'm not gonna play along. Listen to my words very carefully. I'm not going to play along with bullshit. Nonsensical trash. I refuse. If you think I'm just gonna sit there with a wooden spoon and bowl, in line, waiting for seconds, please sir, can I have some more? You're on the wrong channel. Ain't gonna do it, not gonna happen, Flapjack. Bayley challenges Charlotte to a champion versus champion match. I don't think the titles are on the line, but knowing Vince, they could be next week. And Charlotte accepts. And moments later, it's announced that that's right, you thought this was going to be a one-off. Or if you did with Charlotte, you couldn't have been more wrong. Charlotte will be right back onto the blue brand next week, taking on Bayley. And if you think that's it too, please, Sasha will do something and say it'll be Sasha and Charlotte the very next week. Or maybe at the next pay-per-view. And somehow, I would not put it past the old man to insert the NXT Women's Champion, whether she has the title or not, into the SmackDown Women's Championship match at SummerSlam. Bayley versus Sasha. I wouldn't put it past him. He puts her in everything that is nonsensical. No reason for her to be in this match other than to steal spotlight from everybody else. Truth. I know the truth hurts at times, but it's the truth. Daniel Bryan defeats Drew Gulak in the IC title tourney match. It was an okay match. Would have been so much better with a crowd. There are some matches that legit, there's nothing we could say. We know we're witnessing what would have been a good match, but without the crowd, these type of matches just lack a little more. It was a lot more technical in style, which I love as an old school wrestling fan, but without a crowd, I mean, it's, that could be, what's that word? Boring. And there was several times this match where it just was for me. It just fell flat. And then it led to Sonya Deville cutting a damn solid promo backstage on Mandy Rose. Dolph Ziggler was right by Sonya Deville's side. And that's what I mean. That's how the show was that uninteresting. That one of the bright spots in the entire show was a 90-second Sonya Deville backstage promo. But she nailed it. I'm seeing a lot more. We are seeing a lot more out of Sonya and Dolph, and a side of Sonya and even Dolph, because we saw Dolph's promo just a week or two ago. Maybe it was just last week. But we saw Dolph's promo, it was just backstage. It was probably just filler, or it was supposed to be filler, but it was one of the bright spots of the show. This week, Sonya's promo is one of the bright spots of the show. Man, you book Sonya Deville and you make Dolph Ziggler a real fucking threat again and not a joke because we know he can be a real threat. I like this combination. We then go into the main event, Miz and Morrison versus Otis and Braun Strowman. Nothing I needed to see here. Of course, you got the caterpillar elbow with Otis, making Braun look more like a fucking circus freak. Braun power slams and pins, I believe, Morrison, and that's the match. Morrison and Otis win. Post-match, Mandy comes down in booty jean shorts. I told you one of the bright spots last night was Sonya Deville's promo. The only other bright spot last night, aside from seeing Sasha Banks, I gotta admit, I mean, Sasha was looking fucking, she came out there in leopard print, and I wanted to claw away, let me just tell you. But the third bright spot, and only bright spot of the night, was Mandy Rose in those booty jean shorts. Because she got Braun distracted, and she got everybody in the world watching distracted. She was probably turning females at that point. And Otis went like he was going to cash in because Braun was distracted by Mandy Rose in the booty jean shorts. But Braun Strowman caught him, so Otis was like, just kidding, big man, just kidding, all in fun, this was just for fun. So, I thought that was pretty funny, too. But you know, funny for like a middle of the show segment. I mean, that's literally how we went off the air, guys. I mean, you're supposed to end Raw and SmackDown with a cliffhanger, get your audience excited for next week. We don't want to tune in next week. We need to tune in next week. And you just have fucking Otis and Braun Strowman Braun's hoisting up his championship. You got Otis hoisting up his fucking briefcase, and Mandy Rose is looking at Otis. Literally, you can go back and watch this. Mandy Rose is looking at Otis like, what the fuck am I doing with you? And I like Otis. You guys know that. But Mandy's looking at Otis like, you are a fucking nutcase, man. Then we ended the show, and I'm like, there's no way that could be the end. Half of me was happy that it was over, and the other half was like, are they really ending with nothing? Nothing to interest us for next week? BC, what are you talking about, man? Bayley and Charlotte next week, man. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Without announcing shit for next week, you have to have a cliffhanger that drives emotion out of us. That's how people come back the next week. Again, not because we want to, because we need to. It's a simple philosophy and concept. I know this is a shorter review, guys, but for many reasons. Number one, I'm going to the fucking Jersey Shore, and I'm gonna get some fresh fucking air right now. Thank you. Something much fucking needed. I know somebody's right now thinking about, Beefly, wear a mask, man. Wear a mask. Thank you. I didn't know I had 12 million parents now. Everybody wants to tell me how to fucking do my shit now. BC, stay 6 feet apart, man. Stay socially distanced. Oh, man, don't worry. But I'm taking a fucking trip. I'm going to get some fresh air on the shore. First time for the year. So this is going to be really nice. Another reason the video is shorter is because there wasn't a lot to talk about. If I didn't rant and rave on the whole Charlotte Flair shindig, this would have been 10 minutes fucking shorter. And the third reason it's a shorter video is because I just literally screamed, hooted, and hollered and fucking got amplified for over nearly a half an hour straight. I mean, if I do any more of that, that's probably not great for health reasons. Listen, much love to all you guys, man. We're hoping this is going to pick up, man. We're hoping that they just put a lot into the Money in the Bank or all their resources, which, thinking back on it, that wasn't a lot. So maybe I'm grasping at straws here, guys, for coming up with a reason why last night just didn't have any good feel to it. But I'm willing to hold out the hope that this is just post Money in the Bank blues. And that next week they'll find their groove. You know what I mean? But SmackDown is just I just don't understand. It's... Alright, I'm not going to get re-frustrated. We'll see what happens with Banks, Bayley, and Charlotte and all that, man. And next week will tell us everything. Listen, the fears that we have for Charlotte being inserted into a possible SummerSlam match with the two, our fears are going to be either subsided or brought tenfold next week. We're going to have a much clearer picture of Charlotte Flair's involvement in Bayley and Sasha going forward after next week. I assure you. Other than that, I can't think of too much that I'm interested in. The IC title tournament, I have zero interest in. I know a lot of pro wrestling fans love tournaments. I don't. We know that pro wrestling is pre-planned, predetermined. So I don't need one son of a bitch in 5 seconds just picking a winner. And for the next month, we have to go through fucking matches that have already been... No stories being progressed out of any of this. This is just somebody picking somebody to win a multi-week tournament, and we're supposed to sit back at home and think that this is a real thing, like the best wrestler, the IC champion, is going to be crowned, rightfully so, via a tournament? This isn't baseball. This isn't football. This isn't hockey, basketball. In pro wrestling, you're going to put on a bogus tournament to come up with who the best is. It doesn't make sense to me, man. So I know a lot of people are interested into this tournament. I'm not. I don't like tournaments in pro wrestling. So really all I have to look forward to is Mandy Rose in her booty jean shorts and Sasha Banks and Bayley possibly happening at SummerSlam. And in the future, hopefully they give something special to Naomi. And I don't know what to think of Otis and Braun Strowman. I don't know. I'll be here another half an hour if I start contemplating this anymore. Go, drink your coffee, whoop that ass this weekend, guys. I will see you, if not Monday with an impromptu video, definitely Tuesday morning with the Raw reaction and review. Again, much love to all you. Whoop that ass. Think, be, live, amplified. Check you later.